Hello everybody and welcome back. Today I want to take a look at the Necrochasm, which of course is the newest raid exotic added in Destiny 2. I want to go over how to get it, some interesting interactions with its perks, and a couple other things about this weapon that I think are worth talking about. Right before we start talking about Necrochasm though, if you like what I do, like and subscribe, always greatly appreciated, help me out a lot. My Twitch is linked down below if you ever want to catch some of my live streams. But let's go ahead and get started on how to actually get Necrochasm. So if you didn't clear Crota's End on contest, you'll need to get the quest from the sword at the end of the raid, which drops the common auto rifle Husk of the Pit. Then you need to get 100 Hive kills with the Husk, and Hive and Crota's End do count for more, although I just used the opening section to Grasp of Avarice, and that also got it done in about 2 to 3 minutes. After this step, the Husk will transform into Eidolon Ally, a legendary auto rifle with the perks Rangefinder and Perpetual Motion. From there, you need to collect 20 essences of the Oversoul, which can be dropped from any encounter in Crota's End, as well as several triumphs. I'll put some of the drop counts up on the screen now. But once you get 20 essences of the Oversoul from any source, you then need to go and defeat Crota one more time, at which point your Eidolon Ally will transform into Necrochasm, and there you go. But you're not quite done, because from there is a catalyst that can be obtained for this weapon, which you'll need to activate 2 plates in the raid, one right after the bridge encounter, and one right after the Deathsinger encounter, and those will spawn a bunch of adds that you kill within a minute and 30 seconds each, and then you'll finally get the catalyst to drop. The catalyst itself requires 35 essences of Oversoul, but the 20 that you obtained to get the auto rifle to begin with do count towards that total, so you will only need 15 more. Oversoul essences being obtained is a little trickier because you get 1 guaranteed per account per week, but there is no weekly lockout like there has been with raid exotics in the past, so you will be able, if you want, to just clear Crota or Deathsinger or the whole raid itself over and over again for extra chances at getting Oversoul essences, but the drop rate is not fantastic. The best way, in my opinion, to speed this up is going to be to do all the triumphs. Each of the encounter triumphs give 1, the encounter challenges, which are not out yet unless you did them in contest, in which case you don't need to do them for Necrochasm, each give 1 as well, the master mode gives 2, and the flawless raid gives 3. The easiest one overall, however, is to complete the raid with a fire team comprised of the entirely the same Guardian class, as that is also just a free Oversoul, so if you want to run just like an all Warlock run, all Hunter run, all Titan run, you'll be able to get 1 Oversoul for free that way as well. But talking about Necrochasm itself, it's going to be a kinetic 720 RPM auto rifle with 2 main perks, Cursebringer and Desperation. Cursebringer makes it so that precision kills with this weapon will create a Cursed Thrall explosion, and kills with those explosions will instantly refill the magazine. Desperation is basically Desperado specifically designed for Necrochasm, increasing its stability and aim assist as well, while also bumping the fire rate up to about 900 RPM whenever you either reload after a precision kill or get a Cursed Thrall explosion kill that will reload the gun for you. That buff lasts 6 seconds and actually doesn't change the damage per bullet for Necro, so it does end up working out to being a pretty strong damage buff. The Cursebringer perk, though, does have a little more to it than the description tells you, since the Cursed Thrall explosions can actually chain together. So if you get a kill with the Cursed Thrall explosion, that target will then also explode, and then if that gets kills, then it'll keep exploding. Every once in a while, your Cursed Thrall explosions will kill an enemy who then explodes, killing a few more, and that sets off a really big chain reaction into more and more kills, and it does feel pretty good when this happens. The Cursed Thrall explosions also appear to apply a weak poison effect to enemies, and if enemies die to that damage over time, they also generate a Cursed Thrall explosion. That perk does also interact with Necrotic Grip like most other weapons of sorrow, however I don't think Necrochasm's interaction with Necrotic Grip is very strong for a couple of reasons. The first is that Necrotic Grip's poison will only apply on Cursed Thrall kills from Necrochasm, but it also doesn't count as Cursebringer's damage over time effect, so if Necrotic Grip's poison effect causes a kill, it won't create a Cursed Thrall explosion, which can severely reduce the uptime of Desperation and the number of kind of chain reaction Cursed Thrall kills you get, but in other situations you probably won't even really notice the effect from Necrotic Grips. In fact, some of the background gameplay for this video was actually done with Necrotic Grips, and while I was editing it, I couldn't even really tell the difference between gameplay with and without that exotic gauntlets equipped. I did find better results without Necrotic Grips equipped, since it made my Cursed Thrall explosions feel much more consistent. I almost hit a point where I'd prefer that the Necrotic Grips poison wasn't even applied dealing damage, because I really wanted to get kills either with Cursebringer or not at all, so that I could get Desperation to stay up. Just my opinion on that interaction. It's definitely not terrible, but I actually kind of liked using something else to get a little more value than Necrotic Grip, trying to synergize with this. If I really wanted a Necrotic Grip build, I'd probably do it with Osteostriga or Thorn. But that makes me want to list out kind of the pros and cons of this weapon. On the positive side, Necrochasm is an absolute laser beam. It's very hard to miss your targets with this as long as you're within your operating range. The Curse Thrall explosions chaining together also does help clear stuff out very well while keeping the auto rifle loaded. It definitely feels much better than a lot of exotic primaries out there. 720 autos are also just very, very good, and Necro being able to take their benefits even further at 900 RPM without any hit to damage is very good when Desperation is active. However, Necrochasm definitely has some problems with its ease of use. Necro's perk only activating on headshots is really odd, given that in Destiny 1 it had to receive a buff at one point that made it proc on all kills, not just headshots, and that was the only thing that really made it any good towards the end of Destiny 1's lifespan. The weapon overall is definitely better than its Destiny 1 counterpart in its current version, but given that weapons like Osteostriga and Quicksilver Storm exist with even better clearing power at greater ranges, it's just hard to justify all the effort that it would take to obtain Necrochasm in a world where Quicksilver Storm and Osteostriga are both able to potentially fill its niche but better. The only problem is the quality of life on the weapon is just not as good as things like Osteo or Quicksilver. Even its Cursebringer trait I feel like could be upgraded a little bit, because the Raid Origin trait, which is very, very similar, actually procs on any kill during its duration, precision or otherwise, but Necrochasm, despite being the exotic, still requires precision kills, which, you know, isn't awful given its aim assist and stability, but it does hurt given that Necrochasm's range starts to fall off at 26.5 meters while aiming down sights. The Catalyst is also its own problem, given that it only adds Outlaw, and that's not a super useful perk on this weapon. It already has a reload speed of 76, so Outlaw is a minimal buff, but factor in the auto reload part of Cursebringer and Outlaw becomes even less useful for this exotic. I'd honestly love it if the Catalyst would change to something else that Necro could get a bit more use out of, or even have the Catalyst give it Curse Thrall on all kills while Desperation is active or something. I feel like it would bump the exotic up to be a bit more competitive with stronger options in its slot like Osteostriga, because as it stands, I don't think it's necessarily going to be bad, but it will certainly struggle to keep up with some of the stronger options out there, which as a raid exotic is a little disappointing given the amount of grind that can be required to get this weapon in the first place. Overall, I think Necrochasm is a super solid auto rifle, but at the same time, unless you're really nostalgic for the Destiny 1 version, there's much better options like Quicksilver Storm, like Osteostriga, that fulfill the same niche as this weapon currently, and even with the Catalyst, it doesn't improve very much. So I'm not quite sure who this weapon's really for, other than people that are super nostalgic for Destiny 1, but I do think it's better than a lot of other raid exotics have been on release. However, if you are a much more practical player, not necessarily a completionist, but somebody who just wants gear that you are actually going to find use for, I currently do not think Necrochasm is worth the amount of work you will do to obtain it when you have other better options that are significantly easier to obtain. However, that is all I have for today's video, so if you liked this video, like and subscribe are always greatly appreciated, go a long way to helping me out, and y'all have a great rest of your day. Stay safe. See y'all in the next one. Later.